Hello, and thank you for tuning back into yet another episode of MZ Interviews with myself, Ryan MZ. Thank you so much for tuning back in for yet another one. This time, as per the last few, we are talking to another content creator. However, the content creators that we've been speaking to so far, we're all at different points in our journeys respectively. But today we're speaking with someone who's gone a little bit further in their journey than any of us have so far. So really looking forward to speaking with him, hearing his insights, hearing his perspective, and sharing a little bit about his journey, how he got here, and what he's doing now. But why don't we allow him a moment to say hello?
Hi, guys. How you doing?
Pleasure to have you here. Go ahead and introduce yourself. Who are you?
I'm CleaveTV. Some people like to call me Cleveland. My real name is also Glenn, so, I go by anything. Hey you, hey streamer, hey senpai. My business card actually says professional senpai, so I will respond to senpai, no problem.
That's pretty magnificent. That's pretty brass to put that right on your business card.
At first, I told the person that was making it, I'm like, you need to put professional senpai in there, and they were like, this is a joke, right? And I'm like, no, do it. And everyone loved it. Like, everyone I hand it to is just like, this is great.
That is actually fantastic. Awesome. Cool. So welcome to the podcast or the show or whatever you want to call it. So then I guess we'll jump right into some more questions about you, because we want to get an idea of who you are and before we start talking about what you have done and etc. But
Sure.
Why don't we start with, where are you? Where in the world do you live?
Northeastern United States. I'm in New Jersey right now. A couple miles from New York City.
Cool. So bit of a hot spot for activity, relatively speaking, to the rest of the country.
Yeah, there's actually quite a few streamers around this area as well. And,
oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. Let me jot that down here. I'll definitely make sure to come back to that. The next question, the question of what do you do? So would you present what you do? Like, do you particularly only stream? Do you also have a real life job? Do you do other things that you'd specifically say are notable outside of streaming?
Great question. I consider myself a full-time streamer. I stream Monday through Friday. Occasionally I do weekend streams as well. Mm-hmm. I am currently not employed outside of streaming right now, as far as full-time revenue, but mm-hmm. I don't spend a lot of time doing YouTube. I'd say my main focuses right now are just Twitch and networking with gaming studios, try to build my contacts there.
Okay.
Yeah,
cool.
I consider myself first and foremost a streamer. And,
nice.
That's it.
Excellent. And we'll definitely come back to that as well. Now, the next question I have for you is something I ask everyone. And typically speaking, people have varying levels of difficulty coming to grips with this. And I'm very interested to hear your response, since you're talking about building relationships. And I was going to be coming to some of those relationships that you've built so far that I've seen from where you share yourself online. But tell me the elevator pitch of your stream, if you have one.
Okay, I was actually just talking about this just before we started the interview.
Oh, really? That's really convenient. Okay.
Yeah, it was practice. You know what's weird is I don't want to undersell or oversell it, but like I've gone through as a streamer. You go through like these waves. You're always riding waves of I'm super popular. Oh God, everyone forgot about me. Like, I'm super popular. Oh, nobody's watching me today. Oh no. So for me, my elevator pitch was always, I want to provide the viewer with excellent gameplay, minimal but snarky, funny commentary, and an outstanding selection of musical accompaniment. So a lot of people like to treat my stream as a radio station. They'll watch on audio only, or they'll check in minimally and check out progress on what I'm working on, and just generally want to hear the music, and they want to hear occasional commentary. Interesting.
Okay. So you said that's how you would have positioned it. So is that how you still position it, or?
What's funny is I feel like my stream is sort of in a transitional period right now, mm-hmm. where I am actually moving more towards increasing the amount of commentary. I'm actually beginning to use webcam, which is a tool that I never used before and actually swore that I would never use ever on Twitch. And senpai lied apparently, because I'm using webcam all the time. Mm-hmm. And I'm trying to change the focus of my stream from what was once, a fun radio station to what could now be possibly a more exciting place to go to check out new games. Basically, I'm trying to position myself more as a variety streamer and not as simply someone who streams one genre of game or even just one game at all.
Okay, so yeah, that's a really interesting place to be in, because that's something a lot of people, typically speaking. So you mentioned specific genre. The way you worded that, it implies to me you've been specifically doing one, or at least a very targeted genre. So
Yeah.
I mean, myself, I've done some research on you, but why don't you share with the listeners?
Oh, sure, yeah. So essentially, I am very, very among circles. I'm well known for playing simulation games, simulation and construction games specifically. So we're talking about games like City Builders, the Roller Coaster Tycoon / Planet Coaster series, stuff like that. And that really lent itself very well towards my channel being sort of a radio station where I'm working on building. Let's say I'm building a house in Planet Coaster, or I'm building a house in The Sims or something like that. A viewer doesn't need to spend a lot of time invested in watching the entire creation process. They can come in and check, every 15 minutes, every 20 minutes, what's going on, and they're not really missing very much, versus watching a story-based game where you could get up for 10 minutes and suddenly you don't really know what's going on. And then maybe you're losing interest in the story, or you're losing interest in the stream in general. So that's sort of how I tried to position my stream, especially from the beginning. And that was why the music was a big part of that as well. Just giving people just a very relaxed place where they can go, put the stream on their other monitor. Maybe they want to do some programming, or they want to do some artwork on their main monitor, or maybe
Chores
they
around
want
the house.
Yeah, chores. Maybe they want to play the same game that I'm playing and get inspiration from what I'm doing. There are a lot of people, say, "Oh, I'm playing. You're playing Skylines on one monitor, and I'm playing Skylines on my other monitor, and I'm trying to do it. I'm trying to copy you." Like, a lot of people say that,
That's
or
really
they'll have
neat.
me up on the TV or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, because I tuned in. I tune in as well myself, and watching your content, I see exactly what you're saying, because for me it's great to put on while I'm doing chores, because typically speaking, the ones that I've popped in on, you're playing some sort of a park building game, and watching you for a few moments here and there, I'll watch you sort of get all finagly with some specific block, and you're trying to get it to align just right so the aesthetic of the thing looks nice. So then I'll turn away and I'll focus on dishes and just listen to you chatting away, and then I look back and then you've made some more progress on the ticket booth or whatever it is you're getting into the minutia of. So that's I'd absolutely agree with that statement. So you're kind of now you're looking very much into increasing sort of the engagement level with the content.
You hit it exactly. I don't mean to cut you off. Sorry.
No, absolutely.
Let me know when to shut up. I like
please,
talking.
Please.
So let me know
That's
when to stop. I really, part of the process of how I wanted to evolve my stream and how I created content was I'm really looking for more ways to engage viewers in what I'm doing actively, which is hard to do when I'm doing as you described, where I'm just spending very long amounts of time, you use the word minutia, like very appropriately, like very, we're building things on a very like small scale, very finesse type of level, and it's hard to engage people in that type of content, and rightfully so. I mean, people, for the most part, just want to relax. They want to listen to music. They want to check out progress. So the transition to moving into more like story-based / role-playing type of content is something that I'm personally working with, and I would go so far as to say struggling with a little bit. It's hard when you're, when people come to expect A and suddenly you're serving them B. There's going to be understandably a transitional period between that.
Absolutely, and I'm definitely going to make sure I come back to this. But before we kind of go off and touch on
Sure.
a few other things first, I just want to say I connect with you on that. Something that I've started doing. I'm have a Twitch team I'm a part of, myself and a few other streamers. None of us are partners, so it's an unofficial Twitch team. But we have a Discord server where we maintain a joint community, and we collect highlights that people we have a channel where people can post the highlights. And what I do is I kind of curate the best highlights for each month, and I edit them into a montage once a month. And I upload them to a YouTube channel that I maintain for the team.
That's awesome.
So thank you. And what I've done is I've been actually streaming my editing process, and I find that with that is a little different because I'm engaging with people based on like, does this moment work here? Does that moment work there? Tell me, guys, do you think I only left the text on screen for too short a period of time? You don't get a chance to read it, etc. But yeah, it is a very, very different type of content, and not everybody is going to be wanting to be engaged in it the same way. Whereas yours has the advantage of you don't have to sit there and glare at it the whole time. Whereas mine, if you're not watching, none of it makes sense.
Right.
But that's only specific to the editing streams. Now, let's rewind a whole bunch.
Sure.
What got you started? What was it that got you started?
How far back are we going?
Well, what was it that got you started in terms of creative content? Because I was going to come to this later, but something I noticed on your Twitch channel in terms of the aesthetic, in terms of the branding, you consistently use, I don't know what the term is for it, but that pattern of colors.
The test pattern? Yeah.
Yeah, is it the test pattern? I was going to call it the test pattern. And that's something that's used on televisions, when the channel's dead, that you see the test pattern, for the listeners, it's those multicolored bars that are on screen. I don't know if there's necessarily always a tone, but point being, you use that in your aesthetic. Does that play into your story, or?
No. Sorry, there isn't really a cool story there. It was just sort of, I made my name on Twitch, and Cleave was taken, and so I threw TV at the end of it, and that sort of just evolved.
Okay, that makes sense then. All right, so then why don't you tell me where it got started? However specific nitty-gritty you want to be. I mean, don't worry, I'll keep an eye on time. I'll shut you up if you're going too long.
Okay. Well, the way I got my name was really corny. I was streaming on Twitch, and unfortunately, I broke the terms of service, so I lost my account. So I had to make a new account, and I was playing a lot of World of Warcraft, and I play a warrior, and I was doing a lot of cleaving. So I'm like, you know what? I'm CleaveTV. So that's exactly how it happened. And I used like graphics from WoW, and I used like the cleave as my icon avatar, and like that's just what it is. And it makes no sense as far as who I am on Twitch now. But that's just how it happened. So
hey, no, that's how it goes sometimes. I mean, myself, my name, Ryan MZ, is just Ryan, letter M, letter Z. Canadians phonetically say the letter Z as Z.
Right.
But originally it was Ryan M, letter Z. There wasn't like the phonetic spelling of it. I only made that name because I wasn't creative enough to come up with something that I felt was competitive with all the other hilarious and cool tags that I always saw people have. Like, whatever, I'm not creative, forget it. It's just my name and initials. And then I forgot the password to that account on Twitch. And I said, well, I'm too lazy to redo the password, so I just opened a new account.
Yep.
So that's how I'm Ryan MZ as it's spelled.
That's how these things happen, yeah.
Yeah, other people on the podcast have also shared their, ways that they came up with their names, and everyone's got their own story. I actually think that's neat. It's just something that you did so much, and you took this little tiny thing, and you blew it up, and it's evolved into its own thing. Because I like the cleaver imagery. Now, is it okay for me to ask what it was that happened that caused the account reset, or is that something you prefer not to
well,
talk
I don't
about?
know who's going to listen to this at Twitch, but let's just say,
Fair enough.
If you're broadcasting copyrighted content, don't be surprised if you get your account closed. That's all I'm saying.
Gotcha. Totally fine, and let that be a warning to people who
it was
are
a
feeling
lesson.
a little cheeky.
Never did it again. Never will do it again.
Thank you for sharing. So, tell me a little bit about how you started. So you started off, you were inspired by World of Warcraft.
Yeah.
So what was it how did it continue? How did things keep going? Because I mean, I can't imagine you were partnered immediately unless you were.
No.
What was your journey like getting started?
Well, so here's the thing, is I started streaming and I started watching streams before I knew what Justin TV was. I was on a program called Xfire, which was a community. This was pre-Twitch, and it was.
I was going to say, you've been in the game for a while.
Yeah. So I don't know. I don't know a lot of I don't remember a lot of the people that I used to watch on Xfire, but I used to watch Soda Poppin', and I used to watch this guy named Tanks with a Z, and they were WoW streamers. And on Xfire, you could only get 500 people into a stream at a time, and you had to get on a waiting list to get into this. Yeah, so you had to really, like, for these guys who were really popular, you had to, like, get in there right when they were starting to actually, like, even be able to watch the stream. It was kind of funny.
That's fascinating.
Yeah. So I was like, this is cool. I'm gonna try streaming. I like playing WoW. I like doing arena. I really like talking to people. I'm gonna try streaming. I mean, of course, I didn't get very popular, but it was fun. I really like gaming. I've been gaming for a long time. I really like talking to people. I really like analyzing my gameplay as well. And I feel like when you have people that are looking over your shoulder all the time, it leads towards people analyzing your gameplay, and it leads you to sort of have to start to justify your own gameplay. And then when you start doing that, you start getting introspective on, why did I make that decision? Because sometimes you're playing a game, and why do you make a decision? I don't know, I just felt like it, you know?
Yeah.
But when someone's asking you, why did you make that decision, you got to start thinking about it.
Yeah, that's something that I play a lot of Super Smash Brothers Melee, and analyzing your gameplay is really important because it gets so easy to autopilot, and then you go, well, wait, this isn't really a good option, or this isn't a good punish in this situation. So I think that what you're saying is something in any sort of game, or anything in general at all in your life. It's really important to be able to shake yourself out of what you're doing and go, but why this way?
Yeah, exactly.
Why this way? Is there a better way to do this? And be able to play devil's advocate for yourself.
Yeah, especially when you're playing a competitive game where...
Oh, absolutely.
I'm a pretty competitive person. It's funny now because I play simulation games a lot, but like I really enjoy PvP, and I enjoy competition. I watch esports all the time, even games that I don't actually play. So I really, from the beginning, I was always all about going back, watching my VODs, making sure that I was making the right decisions, trying to improve my own gameplay. And from there, it just sort of evolved. And, people would come into chat, and I enjoyed talking to them. And I just continued the journey, and Justin TV, I figured out what that was, and everyone was moving over there, so I was like, okay, let's do that. And then Twitch came out, and I was like, okay, let's go there. I mean, they pretty much funneled everyone into Twitch anyway. It was
no one else was doing it.
Yeah, essentially it was a rebrand of Justin TV into Twitch. So Justin TV died, and I just kept going. And I mean, of course, I didn't always stream every day. I didn't always even stream every week, but I always really enjoyed streaming. So it's always something that I've come back to.
Okay. So what was it that saw you transition away from that sort of content that you were doing at the time into something more like this? Because it sounds like, based on what you're saying to me, that you enjoy what you were doing at the time, and the way that you do your streams now, I mean, granted, you're looking to do some changes.
Complete 180, yeah.
It's a very, very big change. So what was it that saw you transition from doing those competitive games into something more relaxed and looking to put on sort of a radio show?
So here's here's the flip side to who I am, to dive in a little bit deeper. At heart, I'm an engineer. I'm a software engineer. So my favorite game growing up was SimCity. 100%. I must have thousands of hours in the original SimCity and SimCity 2000 combined. So
especially as someone who's able to appreciate the game, that sort of software on a deeper level, I mean, I imagine you have probably have a lot of respect for the complexity that they managed to implement with those games so early on.
Yeah, so playing games like SimCity, City Skylines, Prison Architect, RimWorld, these games really get my mind moving in terms of trying to figure out how the AI works, what's the optimal way to play. In a way, I'm competing against how I think the game is built, essentially. So it's obviously it's not competitive from that level. There's no leaderboards or anything like that. But I'm always really trying to challenge myself against pushing the game to the maximum, trying to figure out. Trying to exploit the design, essentially. And
doing it from within the system that they provide you with to do so.
Right. So I actually had a couple different arcs to my streaming career. As any streamer will tell you, it takes years to become an overnight success in streaming.
I really love that.
Yeah.
It takes years to become an overnight success. I'm going to keep that safe somewhere.
Anyone who tells you otherwise, anyone who tells you that the reason that they're popular is anything other than hard work combined with absolute blind luck is probably lying to you. And so the first arc to my streaming career was this is post World of Warcraft. Because I don't know if you play WoW, but you sort of don't really quit WoW. But anyway, so I played a game called Banished. Banished came out, I want to say 2013, somewhere around there, and it was a really peculiarly, we can edit that out in post, peculiarly designed game, and it really caught fire with a lot of people, in the sense that it was a complicated game that seemed to offer a big payoff when you mastered it, and it was very hard to master. And
so high skill ceiling, sort of high reward.
Right. I mean, it turns out that the reward wasn't really that great, at least at the time, but a lot of people were really interested in the game. So me being naturally drawn to like building games and stuff like that, I got shown the game, and I'm like, man, I'm going to play this game. This looks like a lot of fun. Let me fire up the old stream. I think I was using XSplit at the time. Like, let me fire up XSplit. Let's play this game. Let's have a good time. And so I started playing the game on hardest difficulty with, like, didn't do any tutorials, didn't read anything about it at all. And I'm starting to play the game, and I'm realizing, oh, I'm pretty good at this game. I kind of like cracked the code, so to speak, of like the secret sauce to how to play the game really quickly. Yeah. And just by virtue of, I guess, blind luck in having a couple people that knew me from previous streams coming by, I ended up getting to the top of the directory of Banished, and then I ended up getting, a ton of viewers. So just randomly, like years before I got partnership, I ended up doing like a week or 3 weeks or something like that of streams where I'm actually streaming to like 200 people, which was like, to me, I was like, oh my god, I'm world famous, guys. Like 200, like 200 people. Oh my god,
that's a lot of people, man.
Right? It is. Even
yeah,
I mean, even today would be a lot of people. So, Twitch was a lot smaller then too. So getting 200 people to a stream, it was, it felt really good. It felt really satisfying. I was really connecting with a lot of people. Unfortunately, the game didn't have a lot of longevity. But what was cool was I was still really focused on community-driven play. I really was focused on figuring out how to play the game with the people that were in chat with me, and really trying to include them in decisions that I would make, and trying to include them in trying to figure out how to best optimize the gameplay. And by virtue of that, I really made a lot of friends with people that just enjoyed hanging out with me and playing this game. And what's really cool is I have people who subscribe to me today who remember those streams from 4 or 5 years ago almost.
That's awesome.
And I think it's really cool. It's something that I'm really proud of.
Nice. And now I'd go back to what you were saying about luck, fortune, overnight success. Something that I heard that I try to hold true and try to keep mindful of is that luck is actually 70% preparation. Like, the percentages don't matter, but it's like a lot more of it is preparation and a lot less of it is opportunity. And because, people who say they are not lucky, it's something to that effect, but you're presented with opportunities all the time. It's more so being able to spot those opportunities and making sure that you're always honing yourself, you're always improving yourself, so that when that opportunity presents itself, you are your best self and you can jump on that opportunity and maximize it.
Absolutely. I mean, one of the things that I say, which is really cheesy, and you guys are going to be like, why are you interviewing Jaden Smith? But what I like to say, I like to say that every day is just practice for tomorrow. So you're always just looking for the next opportunity, and as soon as you see it, you got to pounce on it, you got to capitalize, and you just got to do your best. And no regrets, never feel like you didn't give it your best shot, essentially.
I actually really like that as well. It's kind of we're just trading, fucking sayings now. Or like the other one. I
was going to ask you if it was okay to curse, but I guess it is.
I mean, I try not to make the whole thing us swearing back and forth, but I mean, here and there it's fine. If you feel like it enunciates a point, that's okay. That's totally cool.
I didn't mean to throw you off track there either. Go ahead.
No, it's totally fine. But the point of it is I don't remember. Anyways, let's move on.
Nice.
Yeah, excellent, wonderful, professional, top tier interview right here.
No, I think I knew where you were getting. I mean, you gotta take it. You gotta seize opportunities where they are, and sometimes you gotta make your own opportunities.
Exactly. A lot of times, actually. But moving things forward. So now, since we're kind of talking about your progression, and everyone has their waves. Now, as I say every time I bring it up, dear listeners, Social Blade is a tool that can be useful to spot specific changes or trends in numbers. So don't take it as anything more or less than that. Simply take it for numbers. You derive from it what meaning you derive from it. Don't let it dictate to you whether or not you are being successful. However, so I imagine what you're talking to me about, this huge uptake you had in sort of engagement with your content with the whole Banished thing, there was the first big, super duper big spike you had. I mean, the very first spike you had, I can see January 14th into kind of March, you went from, having about 140 followers up to 1,000. Was that around when you did Banished? That was early 2014.
Yeah, that must have been around that point in time. There was also I had one magic. Every streamer has that one magical evening where just like for some reason a lot of people show up in your stream and you have no idea why. So that it was either that or there was some evening
2015.
Potentially, yeah. It's hard for me to. It's truly hard for me to remember what years these things happened. But I think
a blur.
I think it was pre 2015. I think it was probably 2014, where I randomly played World of Warcraft on stream, and I was streaming PTR, which is the public test realm, where the patch before it comes out launches, basically, and you can play in their sandbox environment. And I randomly had a stream where I had like 700 people watching me play Arena, and I mean, I couldn't believe it. Like, and then mostly all those people never came to my stream again. But it was it was just one of those magical moments.
For that one night, I was a god.
Exactly. That's pretty much exactly how I went to sleep that night. Never really happened again. But
now,
yeah, so there's been a couple nights like that. But yeah.
Now there was a point in 2015 in March over to April where you exploded. You went from about 1,000 followers up to like 8,000. What happened then?
So that was the other wave. That was wave number 2. That
and that wave was carried for a while off into late 2015. You were blowing up.
That wave carried me to partnership. And without a doubt, that was it took years to become an overnight success. That was that moment. And that coincided with the release of a game called City Skylines, which is essentially a spiritual successor to SimCity. Right. And that game really poised itself to capitalize on the failure of SimCity 2014. Or SimCity 5, depending on whatever you want to call it. That game was a complete failure from almost all accounts. Sorry, EA. And
they hear bad things enough as it is.
Yeah,
I'm sure they'll get over it.
So then Skylines comes along, and it was another one of those I'm getting lucky moments where, again, I like to toot my own horn here, but I was a very, very good player of a game that a lot of people were having trouble with.
Understanding how to min-max the systems and make it work in their favor the best.
Precisely, specifically traffic, and in that game, which I don't know if you've played it or not, but it was a destroyer of worlds for a lot of people who wanted to enjoy that game but didn't really understand how the system worked. And it was a moment where I realized I'm pretty good at this game. This could be it. So I really put myself out there, and at that point I started streaming like 15, 16 hours a day. I don't recommend anybody does this, but like I was being incredibly like physically unhealthy to myself, but seriously streaming like 15 plus hours a day for like weeks at a time. And there were a couple very, very generous people who hosted me, and by virtue of those hosts, I really managed to retain a lot of that audience, which almost never happens. When you get hosted on Twitch, everyone's like, yay, okay, the real person I watch isn't online anymore, goodbye. But I managed to maintain a lot of people through those hosts, and it was the birth of something special. And I managed to increase in viewership every night for like 2 weeks straight, and which never happens. And through the course of like the second week, I did a build. I started to self promote myself that I was gonna do like a live tutorial on how to play the game. And every night I'm talking about, like, I'm going to do this tutorial on Friday night. I don't remember what night it actually was, but like, I'm going to do this tutorial whenever. It's in 5 days. Oh, it's in 4 days. It's in 3 days. And I would talk about it like every hour. I'm like, I'm going to do this. It's going to be awesome. You guys are going to have a blast. Like, I was lying to myself, but like, you know, I was hoping that, I was hoping it was going to happen.
Fake it till you make it. You gotta tell yourself you can do it until you believe you can do it.
And so that night I turned on my stream, and I think I just sat at the main menu for the game, and I played some music in the background or something while I went to go like get a cup of coffee. And I come back, and there's like a couple hundred people in chat already in like 10 minutes. I'm like, oh man, tonight might be the night. And that literally was the night. And I think I still have the VOD of that night. It got to the point where I had to turn off my follower alerts because it was nonstop, and people were complaining that they couldn't hear me anymore and they couldn't see the gameplay. It was literally not. I think honestly that night I must have got 400 or 500 followers in one night.
That's amazing.
Which, yeah, I mean for a really big stream, that's like, oh, that was Tuesday. But for me, it was like, this is awesome. Like, it was amazing.
That's
was
literally
incredible.
More followers than I have right now. 500 follows. Like, that's insane.
Yeah, I mean, it was insane. It's funny. I rewatched that VOD, and again, it was like I see people following me who still watch me today in chat.
That's amazing.
And there were Twitch staff who came in my channel to watch. They were following me. I'm like, who am I? Like, why is this happening? Like, and it was an awesome stream. Everybody had a really good time. I think I managed to actually be incredibly instructive and help a lot of people like figure out a lot of stuff about the game. People were asking me questions the whole time. It was great. And, just build it, just like we talked about before, you got to take that opportunity and build it into something. And I managed to. And yeah, so you're looking at the numbers. I mean, that sequence of time all the way through really that summer, and then beyond the summer, was just incredible. I mean, it was a lot of fun. I managed to turn essentially that night got me partnered on Twitch, and Twitch gave me the opportunity to be on the front page that summer. So I had the opportunity to broadcast for I think I peaked at like 2,700 or 2,500 people a couple different times, and which was incredibly new to me to be broadcasting to that many people. And I think I took it pretty well in stride. It's definitely unnerving to be talking to 2,000 people at once when you're used to talking to 8 people at once.
Yeah.
But that's what sometimes you just have to prepare for those moments as if they could happen at any time. So I feel like I did a pretty good job, and yeah, that was wave number 2.
So before, instead of talking about every specific wave, since I feel like there's a lot of information here I want to dig into, and I don't want to waste too much of our time. Not that this is wasting time, but I want to try and keep us within a certain time frame.
Absolutely.
So let me ask you this: what would you say is something that you developed for yourself, that you sort of did to cope? Cope is a word for some people. For other people, it's maybe not the same word, but to deal with having that many people you're engaging with. Because I imagine, correct me if I'm wrong, I imagine with a chat that monumental, there was probably a lot of activity. Like, the chat was probably popping, right?
At a bunch of points, yeah.
So how did you continue to maintain interaction with that? Because, as you said, you like to try to maintain that sort of engagement with your audience. So what did you do to keep up with them?
So one thing that's always been super duper important to me, and shame on not you specifically, but shame on you streamer who doesn't do this, is keep your chat window open at all times and just pretend like you're streaming to 1 million people at all times. And if you see someone talk in chat, answer them as they're the most important thing that's happening to you at that moment. It doesn't matter what's happening to you in the game. It doesn't matter what's happening to you outside of your computer. Well, okay, maybe that's going a little bit too far, but in terms of streaming, if someone thinks enough to talk to you in chat, it's the most important thing that's happening to you at that moment, right? So from the very beginning, just keeping my eyes focused on chat was really important. So I didn't have to train myself to learn how to do that. It was something that just came naturally. And something that also has come naturally to me is public speaking has always been something that has been a forte. I've also taken a bunch of classes where I've been required to do presentations. I've done presentations in front of a couple hundred people before, like in auditorium, stuff like that. So it's not something that was that foreign to me. And on top of that, I had the lessened anxiety of I wasn't using a webcam at the time, so I could be sitting here picking my nose and scratching my butt, and you guys would never know. So it helps you be a little bit more. Yeah, exactly. So it helps you to be a little bit more comfortable when you know that they can't see you and you can't see them, and you can just kind of be yourself. It helps you to be yourself a little bit more. But yeah, so I've taken classes on how to lead meetings, how to do public speaking, that type of stuff. So the skills translate 1-to-1, like absolutely.
So you'd say someone who feels like they're struggling a little bit with that sort of thing could be potentially useful for them. Because I mean, the reason that I ask is that myself, this is me talking here. I myself, my chat likes to razz me for not necessarily being the best at keeping up to speed with them, because I'm very bad at multitasking, and a lot of the games I'm playing are very involved. So it's not as easy for me to look away, and when I look back, if people are having a pop-in conversation, it's rough for me to catch back up. So the people joke, "Oh, Rip, if he ever gets big, he's never going to reach out ever again. He's not going to know what we're saying." So let's use me as an example. For someone like me who has a little bit of difficulty, considering I'm playing more involved games, do you have any suggestions or recommendations for someone like me who isn't the best at keeping quite up to speed with it? Because my thought was, let's say one day I'm a big boy and whatever, I'll just kind of glance over and respond to whatever's going on in the moment and just make sure I do it more frequently. But
well, okay, let me flip that on you, and then I'll actually answer your question.
Please.
If you get big by being yourself and not really interacting with chat, then your viewers are going to come to expect that that's just you, and that's just natural, and Senpai doesn't notice me very often.
That's a good point. Actually, that's really fair. If they're following and they're enjoying the content as it is, then I guess
precisely
really it stands to reason that that's what they're expecting anyways.
Precisely. But now let me actually answer your question.
Sure.
You can do a bunch of things, like set a timer on your phone to 10 minutes. Every time 10 minutes ticks down, check chat. Every time 10 minutes ticks down, every time 30 minutes ticks down, mention, "Hey, my name's Ryan, and welcome to my channel. If it's the first time here, don't forget to hit the follow button. I go live, every Tuesday and Thursday, and I like to play Dark Souls, and I suck at it. Something, do your spiel, and from there, it'll start to come a little bit more naturally. Eventually, you'll stop setting the timer, and you'll just do it, and the other thing that can really help is like setup. Like if you're doing a one monitor setup, you're gonna be awful. Like I feel crippled if I have one monitor when I'm sitting at a computer. So I can't even imagine streaming. The other thing is like maybe have chat set up on a secondary device. If you have an iPad or if you have a laptop or something like that, maybe have it set up to you to where it's actually in your eye line more while you're playing the game. Not that you're going to focus on it, but something that makes it a little bit easier to glance to. You can always optimize your setup a little bit to make it a little bit more efficient for you to do these tiny little things. I had one more thing. Yeah, maybe the other thing is, and this maybe you're gonna tell me to shut up when I tell you this, but like maybe care less about how good you're doing in the game.
No, that's fair.
Right? I mean, treat it more as if, or treat it more as if I'm here to entertain people, and and they want to interact with me, and I would treat that, and I do treat that as a compliment. The fact that people want to talk to me every day, I definitely take that as a compliment, and
Absolutely.
I want to try to give them my best, my best at all times, essentially.
Absolutely.
But on the flip side is, if you're I don't know, if you're playing Dark Souls and you're working on a boss, tell them to shut up. Like, dude, I've been fighting this boss like for the last 3 hours. I don't want to fight this guy anymore. Like, just give me a second here. Like,
I got you.
And a lot of streamers have those, like, focus or like game face emotes where, like, they're clearly just working on, they're trying to work through something in the game, and it's important for, like, like really big streamers. It's really important for, like, I'm gonna drop some names like Ko and Lyric and Dan's Gaming, like these really big, well-known single-player story-based gameplay streamers. They're on the tightest schedules. Like, they can't sit there and not beat a boss in 2 hours. They have to win, because they have to play a different game in 2 days, and they can't be stuck on whatever, like, some scrub tier boss. Like, these guys are on really strict schedules, and rightfully so. So they kind of gotta shut off chat for a second, and they don't feel bad about it either. It hurts when you have 8 people versus 800 people, and someone says something and no one talks for 10 minutes, and then you look over at chat and you're like, well, shit, maybe they're not even here anymore. Like, you feel bad. You really do. It's weird. It's a weird distinction to make between levels of popularity and how much time you need to invest in just straight up looking at chat and reading chat. It's weird.
Absolutely. Well, thank you very much for that answer. It was really in depth. I appreciate it.
Okay, I hope it helped somebody. I don't know.
Honestly, I think the initial point you made, to me, is by far the most helpful. It's, if people followed you and they're part of the community and they come back, that's what they anticipate anyways. That's what they're expecting. So why change yourself when you have a different larger audience? When
people used to
you
joke,
are what they followed.
Yeah, people would joke in my chat all the time, Cleve, shut up, I can't hear the music. Like, I wouldn't talk for half an hour, and then I say, like, oh shit, I didn't mean to do that. And then someone would be like, what? Streamer has a microphone? Like, I'm trying to listen to the music here. Shut up, dude. Like, I mean, obviously, most of them are, 99% of the time it's a joke, but still. Yeah. I mean, so... Okay, so there's that.
Now, I got so many questions I want to ask you here, and I don't want to go too much over time. So let's try and be a little bit more focused here. So, what would you say for yourself you took away from streaming with only a microphone as a positive, and what is it specifically that you hope to change about what you're doing by having your camera on screen? Because you said you want to engage more with the audience.
Good question.
But what does having your camera on screen do for that? What to you does that add?
Good question. I'll try to be more concise with my answers now. I feel like it can help me connect more with people on a one-to-one level. Unfortunately, I used to hear a lot that people preferred to watch my stream because I did not use camera, and I feel like I'm losing those people now by using camera, and to those people I say sorry. It's truly unfortunate. People have told me that they have, like, anxiety issues with looking at people in the face, and
really?
they choose specifically to watch streams where the streamer doesn't use camera, and they really enjoyed my stream for that. And so that's unfortunate, but for me, I feel like with utilizing camera, it helps people know me a little bit better. And I feel like when you're trying to transition to someone who plays games versus someone who plays a game,
you have to be the through line.
Exactly. Like, I am the reason why I want people to come back to my stream. And I feel like with a camera, I feel like I can make that connection a little bit better. When I wasn't using a camera for a long time, what I said was I want people to focus on the gameplay, and that was true. It wasn't a line or anything like that. A lot of it also had to do with some anxiety issues that I work through. I have anxiety too, and being on camera all the time was something that was uncomfortable for me. And forcing myself to do it and putting myself through that, I felt was a really good experience for me, essentially.
And I mean, on the one hand, you're serving your audience, but on the other hand, you're you as a creator, and you want to grow and you want to expand and build on yourself and your skills. And sometimes you have to do things for you that don't jive with everyone. So good for you for having the courage to take that on.
Yeah, you absolutely cannot, and you will fail if you attempt to make everybody happy. You cannot do that. So,
Absolutely. Thank you for that. Now, what's something that surprised you overall, or in your journey as a content creator? What would you say is the one thing that over time you just it kept coming back as something you didn't expect?
good question.
Don't get too complimentary now.
No, that it's making me think.
Good. I hope so.
It's making me think about a couple different things.
Shoot.
It's interesting to meet different people, like going to events like PAX and TwitchCon and stuff like that, and actually getting a chance to see streamers in person, off camera, and see who they are. And it's interesting to see, people are just people, and some people are really open, warm, and welcoming to just hanging out and just, for lack of a better term, shooting the shit with almost anybody, no matter, if, I walked up to people at conferences that have like 100,000, 500,000 followers and just said hi. And, people are some people are really receptive to that. And some people are just very like, I don't know if it's just a bad time for them or whatever. Some people just aren't, they're not feeling it. And, it's interesting to see that but you can be a quote unquote, air quotes, big guy and still, recognize that you're just a dude who was trying to, 5 years ago you were just trying to make it, or 3 years ago you were just trying to make it, or last year you were just trying to make it. And to be able to share time with people who used to be you says a lot about who they are as people, and I really respect that. And it keeps me thinking, and it tries to keep me a little bit like humble. And so for that, I think that's cool. I don't know if I answered your question or not, though.
Oh, I feel like that was a good answer. Thank you.
Okay.
Now, what would you say is something that was harder than you expected overall in your journey as a content creator, from beginning to now? What's the one thing that you really didn't? It has been a hurdle that's kind of like held you back, or something that you kind of come back to, a demon or two of yours.
There's a million things. Number one, I would say, is probably streaming schedule and game selection. It's the number one thing. Every streamer struggles with this. Every single streamer has questions. They want to know, what game do I play? When do I play it? Do I stream at 10 a.m.? Do I stream at 10 p.m.? Do I stream at noon? Do I stream 5 hours? Do I take a break? Figuring that stuff out is something that I'm still struggling with. I know that there's people who get 1,000 viewers a night who are still struggling with that stuff. Just straight up knowing when you've played a game too many days in a row, knowing what game to play on what day, knowing what time to go live with a certain game. There's some very special secret sauce that a very few people have figured out that helps them become more successful. And one day I hope to crack that code. I haven't yet, and that's definitely something I'm struggling with.
Okay, thank you. Now, you said you're a full-time streamer. This is what you do as a partnered streamer. So, I mean, I'm not going to ask you about your finances. I'm not going to ask you about, how you use your money, whatever. I'm more so interested from the transition of going from someone who presumably was working before and then deciding to make that change in how you were doing things to full-time do streaming. What did that transition look like? Did you have some safeguards in place? Did you say fuck it and you went with it and you made the most of the opportunity you had and it worked out? And did that doing this as a full-time thing, how do you feel like it has affected you, and also how do you think it affected the content? I know there's a lot there, but
yeah, I think I know what you're getting at. First of all, it was scary and but exciting, and I was fortunate in that I have a bunch of people who support me both in my stream and in family and friends who are really, really supportive of me, and I'm speaking specifically like financially, that help make it possible for me to do what I do. And without their help and without their support, you and I certainly wouldn't be talking. So that I'm very thankful for that. And It was a decision that I made based on the fact that I simply just wasn't happy doing what I was doing anymore, and streaming was bringing me joy, and I had an opportunity to go with it, and so far I'm still doing it, and I'm not going to say that every day is rainbows streaming, but there are certainly a lot more rainbows than puddles, that's for sure.
There's a interview that I was referred to check out. When I did my first interview, I showed it to someone, and they gave me a lot of feedback, and it was really useful. And they gave me a link to an interview with an interviewer that they were very fond of. And this interviewer, Marie Forleo, she had an interview. Can't remember the name of the lady, but it's the author of Eat, Pray, Love. And it was really interesting because the interview was specifically around a book that this author had written called Big Magic. And it was talking about creativity, being a creator, how do you dedicate yourself to creativity, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And the one thing that she said that specifically talks to what you're talking about here, and I want to share with listeners, I keep forgetting to use the word listener, is I can't remember the specific words she used, but the metaphor was around the shit sandwich. Everything has a shit sandwich that comes with it. Are you willing to have that thing's shit sandwich and keep doing it?
Right. Yeah.
So it's a really weird metaphor, but I feel like it's really apt because nothing is ever perfect.
Total sense to me. Yeah.
Yeah, and the more you do something, especially when you take on doing something full time, no matter how much you love it, once you do it full time, those niggling issues will come up to the surface and they'll bug you more than you ever thought they would.
Let's put it this way. Streaming's fun, and for a lot of people, streaming's a hobby. But for people who stream full time, it's a job. And sometimes jobs are not quite as fun as you want them to be. Sometimes things don't go as well as you want them to be. And the weird thing about streaming is that you're open, you're a personality, you are your brand. So when you're having a down day, people know, and it's harder. And it's something that you are going to struggle with as a streamer forever. There are really popular streamers who struggle with depression, and streaming for them is really hard, even though they're really popular and a lot of people really like them, like genuinely like them and genuinely enjoy spending time with them. Those people turn off the stream and they're depressed. And I'm talking about people with 1,000, 5,000 plus subs. These people are genuinely really depressed. And so you don't know what anyone's really going through off camera, so to speak.
Yeah, but it gets put forward a lot more when that's what you do all the time.
Precisely. And a lot of people wonder or maybe talk about how some streamers, this guy's just a character, this guy isn't real. He probably isn't real because maybe his life isn't going so great right now, and streaming is something that he started doing as a release from his life that sucked. And it built into this point, and he's got to keep going with it because this is how he puts food on the table. So sometimes you got to cut streamers a little bit of slack.
Absolutely. Another question, and then we'll be kind of getting closer to having a little bit of fun and then wrapping things up here. But
I love fun. Let's do it.
Oh, good, excellent. So let's get to these questions here. Now, I noticed that you had a lot of places that you're affiliated with. On your page, you're affiliated with Discord, with Humble Bundle, with Amazon. Yeah. If you guys, listeners, if you want to check out Cleve, it's twitch.tv/CleaveTV. And you can actually just look on his description. He's got referral links there. So tell me a little bit, a brief little bit about, you pursuing those partnerships. So what did that look like for you?
Okay, so Humble actually approaced me.
Oh, good for you.
And they emailed me and said, hey, we like your channel. We were watching your channel. And we think that you would make a cool Humble partner. So I was like, okay, I like Humble Bundle. I really like charitable contributions. I think I may have just removed them recently, but for years I had links to my favorite charities on my Twitch stream, and I encourage people, to donate to charities. If you don't want to donate to me, donate to a charity that I really enjoy. So Humble was a natural partner for me because of how they work with charities and stuff like that. And the Amazon affiliation came by as in, I actually didn't even really know that Amazon did an affiliate program, and someone said, hey, what's your Amazon affiliate link? And I was like, I don't know. What's that? So they were like, oh, Amazon affiliate, you should check it out. So I did a little bit of research, and pretty much anybody can sign up for an Amazon affiliate link, and they will pretty much approve you. There are a couple ground rules, but essentially, I don't want to go into too many specifics about how it works, but it's something that if you're a streamer, you should look into. It's really easy. I mean, who doesn't shop on Amazon? Like, I want to meet that person because they probably live in a cave, and so it's a way that people can do whatever they're normally going to do every day, like buy toothpaste on Amazon and also support the stream, at no additional cost to them. Discord is a product that I absolutely love, and I actually go back and forth with some viewers, and they're gonna hear this and they're gonna laugh, but about the Twitch app versus Discord. I personally love Discord. I love the idea of a Twitch app, but I feel like Discord's a stronger product, so I prefer to use Discord.
Discord's already well established at this point as well, and they are doing what they're doing, and they're doing it well. Who knows how Twitch will continue to develop as a platform? I mean, it has a lot of promise, but currently, I mean, I feel the same way. Some people in our community on my team mentioned the Twitch app, and I mean, they got something there, but not quite enough yet.
Let's put it this way, and I don't want to get too far off topic, but I definitely see the value in having Twitch embedded into a chat application that has multiple channels available to it. I get it, I see it, and I want the Twitch app to succeed. But on the other hand, I really, really believe in Discord as a product. I believe in Discord having applications that go well beyond Twitch. Mm-hmm. And I met the developers. I met Stanislav. I met the dude who like runs Discord. Who came up with the idea for it. And cool. They're genuinely really cool, approachable people. I mean, I wasn't a Discord partner. I was at my first conference. I had like 10,000 Twitch followers, and I walked up to their booth, and I'm like, I want to meet the CEO of Discord, and they were like, hold on, and here he comes, and the guy stood there and talked to me for like 10 minutes for like no reason. He had no reason to talk to me. I just wanted to tell him how awesome his product was, and then I wanted to tell him my ideas for how to make it better. And then he whips out his phone and he shows me the secret like beta build that only he has access to of Discord, and he's showing me all these features that are like haven't even been announced yet, and I'm like, oh, these guys get it. Like they know what we want. They know how
they had their finger on the pulse of the community.
Yeah, exactly. They know how to connect with people. You watch the way that they run their social media channels. Like their Twitter is hilarious. Their gift game is on point. I mean, they're always super fast to respond to things. Like I tweet at Discord and they actually answer me. I mean, like how many? And that rarely happens, right? So that just felt like a natural partnership that I wanted to pursue, and also they give you a cool hoodie, and everyone likes hoodies. So
absolutely.
So that was just a natural thing that I wanted to go for, and so after that, after meeting them, I applied for partnership, and they accepted me, and whatever.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, hoodies are always much more expensive on merch stores, so I think that speaks to it. But
yeah.
Now, What is your end goal? Like, where do you want to see your stream? Do you have an end goal? I mean, because you've talked a lot about how you feel like you're in a period of flux where you're kind of doing some introspection, looking at your content. Do you have that end goal, or is that also in flux?
Everything is in flux. I mean, Twitch, there is no end game for Twitch. Mm-hmm. For a Twitch for Twitch, there's an end game, the company. But I mean, for a streamer, there is no end game. There is.
So then, let me rephrase the question, if I may.
Yeah.
In a perfect world, what would Glenn be doing? What would CleaveTV? What would he be doing in a perfect world? What would that look like? Do you have that sort of a vision in mind?
I'd really like to continue streaming, and my goal is to get back into the gaming industry. I was a software engineer in the gaming industry for a long time before I started streaming. My goal is to parlay my experiences on Twitch back into the gaming industry in a capacity that doesn't involve programming, because programming to me was the reason why I got into streaming. So I certainly don't want to go back to doing that. Mm-hmm. And I really want to continue streaming. I want to continue being able to share really exciting games with people that, are passionate about them and are created by people who are passionate about sharing things, with that audience. Yeah, with that audience, sorry. And so as far as like perfect world, being a streaming manager for a mid-tier studio would be really fun. Being able to have my hands in on both sides of it, being able to work the social media angle, being able to talk to the devs every day, being able to talk to QA every day, being able to talk to designers every day,
just really being man with 1,000 hats and just getting down and dirty with all of it.
In a perfect world, yes. I don't. If I woke up tomorrow and someone said, "Hey, come, I'm making a studio and I want you to come fill this role," I would probably have to think really, really long and hard about doing it.
Yeah,
and I
absolutely.
ultimately would probably say yes. But is that gonna happen? No, of course not. So, it might. You always gotta be prepared for that overnight success.
As we said, yes.
Yeah, exactly. So. For me, I just want to continue to grow my stream every day. I want to get one new follower every day. I want to get one new sub every day. I want one person to come to my stream every day who leaves feeling better than when they came. I want to be able to engage with people in a way that's positive, that's inclusive, and makes people feel better about their experience on Twitch. There's a lot of places on Twitch that aren't that fun to hang out in. For people like myself, you haven't asked me how old I am. I think I happen to know how old you are because you mentioned it on an interview that I was listening to last night.
Oh, okay. Thanks for listening.
But yeah. So you haven't asked me how old I am, and I think that was by design. But like I'm a little bit older, and a lot of my viewers are a little bit older as well. I have regular viewers in their 50s. I've had regular viewers in their 70s. I've had people that sub and donate to me that are in their 70s. So I want to make a place where people I want a place on the internet where someone who's 70 years old can have a conversation with someone who's 20 years old about things that interest them. And obviously a lot of those things are going to center around gaming. And
the types of games that you're playing in, because you provide that sort of a hub.
Exactly. Thank you for tying together what I was trying to say.
No problem. Honestly, the age thing didn't come up just because I didn't feel like it had context at any point. I mean,
okay, yeah, fair enough.
I mean, the one guy he was saying specifically, I feel like I live my life, and he's 21. So.
Yeah, that was precisely what I was remembering. Yeah, he's like, "Oh,
Not
I'm
to
so
call you
old,"
a Jorpin.
And you're like, "What are you, 21?" And he's like, "Yeah." It's like, "Oh God, come on, dude."
Oh, what am I doing? Now, the last question, and then we'll have some fun.
Sure.
So, if there was something that you could say right now to every single other content creator, streamer, person in your field of work, your peers on Twitch, YouTube, whatever, what would be the one thing that you would trumpet from the hills?
Come to CleaveTV.com. Check out my channel. I go live 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, 12 noon Eastern Standard Time to 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Love playing simulation, strategy, single-player story-based games, multiplayer action games. You name it, I'll play it. If it's got a tree, I'll chop it down. If it doesn't have a tree, I'll plant one. That's who I am.
And every single one of them heard that, because this is an immensely popular podcast.
Precisely. Thank you for giving me that opportunity to share.
No problem. Absolutely a pleasure. Now, let's have some fun, as though to imply we haven't been so far.
Now I'm feeling pressure.
Did you listen all the way through the interview?
I did. I skipped through a couple.
I'm not asking you if you did you listen to every minute. No. Did you catch the bit at the end of the interview?
Honestly, no.
Good. That's actually a good thing.
Yeah, this is coming from left field for me.
Good. So what I've been doing at the end of each of these interviews is this is inspired by a TV program. It's an older program at this point called Inside the Actors Studio. Are you familiar with that at all?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you are? Good.
Yeah.
I think you're one of the only people who have been. So you know how James Lipton, at the end of each of his interviews with these celebrities, he would ask a series of questions.
Okay.
Yeah, the Pivo questionnaire. I was a big fan of him doing those questions at the end of his interviews, and I shamelessly lifted the idea from him, and I've been doing that with the interviewees, and it's been a great bit of fun. So just be present, be in the moment, just say whatever's in your heart, whatever that is.
I'll do my best.
Excellent. So question 1. What is your favorite word?
Wow, you got really announcer voice there. My favorite word is shit. Honestly, it's my favorite word. It just has I can convey so many emotions with it.
You know the way that I can tell just by how much you love it is even just in the way you say it, because you didn't say shit. There was a little bit of a hang in the sh sound, and then there was a bit of like an air after the t. Like you let that word take up a certain amount of space when you said it. Why is it that is it in the same way that people are really drawn to the word fuck, in that it has a lot of flexibility? Or
well, okay, I like watching one of my favorite shows ever is The Wire, and I don't know if you're familiar with The Wire, but there's a character on The Wire, the senator, and just his favorite word is shit, and he says shit in so many different ways, so many different inflections, so many different durations. It's just incredible.
Well, excellent, thank you. Now, what is your least favorite word?
No.
Really? I like that answer. So tell me, what is it about the word no that has it stand out for you in that glaring way?
It's so final. Everything should be negotiable.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
No, I understand. No, absolutely.
I feel like everything's a negotiation, and when someone says no, it intimates that it's not a negotiation anymore, and decisions have been made. So, I hate that word.
Thank you. Now, what turns you on creatively, spiritually, or emotionally?
Watching other people do things that are more talented than me in the thing that I want to do.
So taking inspiration from people who do what you like.
Yeah, I mean, if someone's really good at a game and I want to get better, I'll watch them and not steal what they do. I will creatively lift. From James Lipton.
This is, well, I mean, really, and this, actually, to come back to that interview I told you about earlier with Marie Forleo and the author, she mentions a YouTube video series called Everything's a Remix, and it talks to that, everything at the end of the day. You were inspired at some point in some way by something or some things, and through the creative filter that is you, it becomes its own thing. But at the end of the day, very few things are truly 100% inspired and original.
Yep. I don't know that specific video, but
I only found it because of that interview, and I watched it. So legitimately, Everything's a Remix. It's a wonderful watch, so I definitely recommend it to any listeners and yourself. Now, on the other side of that same coin, what turns you off?
People who aren't willing to try things based on preconceived notions.
Mm-hmm.
Everything's a negotiation, like
as you said.
Yeah. So, people that are turned off to things before they even try them, essentially.
That's fair. Okay, thank you. Now, what is a sound or no? Oh, sorry. Before I get to that, I almost missed the one of the best ones.
Spoilers.
What is your What is your favorite curse word?
Oh shit.
Is it also shit, or is shit both your favorite word and your favorite curse word, or do you have another word that you use as a swear that is your favorite?
I'm not allowed to say it.
Really?
I don't want to get in trouble. I don't want to get in too much trouble. It's a really bad word. Let's go with shit.
Okay. I mean, all right, that's fair enough. I mean, if you're that concerned,
it's nothing like it's not like a
well, let me tell you this. Just let me tell you this word.
I didn't mean to leave everyone hanging that.
No, let me give you this for context. One of my interviewees, it was Peach, actually. I still have to go back and do it, so maybe a little bit of a spoiler there for when I edit that interview and upload it finally. But her favorite curse word was cunt.
See, that's the word I was going to say.
And that's okay. That's be open and honest. Okay. Well,
but she's a girl. She can use that word in the context. Like, as for me, it's just like, oh, this guy sucks. Click. Turn off the interview. It's over.
So tell me, what is it that draws you to that word?
It's just it's visceral. I don't know. I just
What a word for it! It's visceral.
Yeah, I don't know. It's everything a curse word should be. Like it, first of all, it's 4 letters. It's really easy to say. It's 1 syllable. It's just
You like
when you
grunt
say
it out.
Yeah, when you say it, everyone knows what you mean. Let's put it that way, right?
All right, excellent. Thank you. Now, what is a sound or noise that you love?
The subscription notification on my stream.
All right. Well, hey, that's what you love. All right. Cool. Thank you. And on the flip side, what is a sound or noise that you hate? I mean, I don't know that unsubscribing has a sound effect, but
I hate the sound. This is going to be really oddly specific and annoying,
No,
probably annoying to a lot of people. I hate the sound of when my cat's eating a garbage. She's eating plastic, and she knows she's not supposed to. And then I get up and look at her, and she runs out of the room because she knows she's being bad. I hate that sound so much because I always hear it when I'm asleep, and it wakes me up.
But does she have a specific sort of fixation on garbage bags?
She just loves plastic. It's
her
favorite food. Her second
Food.
favorite food. Yeah, she thinks it's food, honestly, and yeah.
My wife's cat, for some reason, she's also addicted to plastic bags. Like she'll just lick shopping bags.
I think cats really like the texture, the smoothness, because their tongues are very rough. So when they lick something very smooth, I think it helps. It feels good to them. It's weird.
That's fair. Actually, that's a really interesting thought on it. I hadn't considered that. All right, cool. Now, what is a profession other than your own that you would like to attempt?
NFL quarterback. I think
Really?
I think I'm a little bit past my prime. No, honestly, I don't know.
Okay, so you're shitting me. All right.
Yeah, a little bit. Like, I don't think I can physically pull. I don't physically have the tools necessary to pull that off.
Tools.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't know. I'd really like to lead a large team that's working on an important software project. I'd really like to have the burden of being project manager for a really important project in software, either in gaming or in some other kind of tech space. But it's something that really interests me. I feel like it's something that I could handle, but on the other hand, it's one of those things that you're never going to know if you can do until you literally jump right into the fire. So,
well,
when
that opportunity presents itself, I have nothing but faith in you.
Thank you.
Good luck. Seize the day, etc.
I'll need it. Yeah.
Now, on the other side of that same coin, what profession would you not like to do?
I don't want to. See, here's where these worlds are about to collide. I don't want to do any job where I have to wake up before like 8 o'clock.
Really?
Yeah, it's really hard to. I don't know. I'm just one of those people that like has trouble getting to sleep, or like sticking to a serious schedule. A lot of times, I need flexible hours in whatever I do, and they need to not be in the morning.
Yeah, that's. I love that. That specifically is the metric by which you decide whether or not you'd like to do something. I don't know.
I would be a garbage man if I could start at like 5 p.m. But I have to start at 4 a.m. So it's not for me. Like, I mean,
there's a wonderful sort of honesty in that answer. I don't know why I like that so much. Okay, thanks.
It's my honest answer.
No, fair. So now the final question before we kind of wind things up and wrap up and clean up shop here. If heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say when you arrive at the pearly gates?
I would like to hear him say that the gates are wide open for me and I can just make myself at home. Because if heaven exists, then that means hell exists too, and I certainly don't want to go there. So
fair enough.
I want God to say, "We've been waiting for you, and we've got your room ready."
Nice. So you want to see him at the gates and feel like you're confident, and
I want to be in the
all
cool
your
kids
fears
club.
assuaged, and just you're in. Don't worry about it, bud. Yeah. You're here.
I want to be in the cool kids club. I really,
Hey, man, that's
really
a good
do.
place to be. A lot of the cool kids always seem to have a lot more fun than the rest of us kids. I don't know.
Yep.
All right.
I assume from looking on the outside, it's yeah.
I mean, they say the grass is always greener, but I mean, look how green that grass is.
Yeah, it's really nice.
All right. Well, that concludes the interview today. Thank you so much to CleaveTV for taking a chance on me in this interview series. Do you have any sort of last words, shout outs, final thoughts that you want to share before we wrap things up?
Thanks for thinking that I was interesting enough to interview. We talked about this before, but just thanks for Thanks for asking me some questions. I really feel like and you talked about this before, you get a lot out of, like, the interviewer gets a lot out of interviewing someone, but the interviewee also gets a lot out of it too, in terms of you really, the harder questions you ask, the more important questions you ask, the more you make people think, and the more you make them dig down and actually look for the real answers. And I think that's important. I think it's important to self-evaluate all the time. And so thank you.
Well, it was absolutely a pleasure. And I hope that this was helpful, not just for you, but for you listeners. As always, the intent of this series is to help by listening to our peers and taking inspiration from their struggles, their accomplishments, their achievements, and kind of translating that into our own adventure and our journey. As we were saying earlier, everything is a remix. Everything is inspired by something else to some extent. So there's no shame in that. And just know that there are other people out there just like you who are working hard at achieving their goal. And we've been speaking to Cleve, and this isn't by any means shots across the bow, but you're a partnered streamer, and you've been talking a lot about things that you're struggling with still, that you really want to do and accomplish, and you're not really sure how to do that. So take solace knowing that even though you may feel like you're in a rut, there are people way further ahead that have found their own ruts that they're bumping up and down through, right?
Yeah, I don't know how much more time I have, but yeah, something I wanted to mention before about there's no end game on Twitch is just like, every time you think you hit a finish line, it's just the starting line to the next race. Like, you want to get a viewer, you want to get 10 viewers, you want to get 1,000 followers, you always want more, and you should never be satisfied with what you have, because you always deserve more. You're good enough. You deserve it.
That's wonderful. Thank you for saying that. And on that note, friends, thank you so much for listening. Appreciate your time. Don't forget to take a moment to check out CleaveTV as he journeys into a new era for him of content as he creates it. I will definitely make sure that there are links down below on SoundCloud. I will also be uploading these to YouTube. That's something I've just started doing. I've created a YouTube channel. SoundCloud has some limitations on free accounts, so only so many interviews are kept online at a time, and I wanted to have a permanent home. Regardless, all links will be underneath. I will have a download link to a file for this interview so that you may listen to it on the go and not burn through your data. But thank you so much for listening, and thank you again, Cleve, one last time for being here, and I hope you all have yourselves a wonderful rest of your days, weeks, months. Until the next time, take care.